This morning, I have Mr. Daniel Nikwate Titus Glover, and he is the former MP for Tema East. He joins us. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm okay. I'm managing. It's cold, but inshallah, it is well. Kwabena Bonfet Jr. is also the managing editor for the National Forum newspaper. Good to have you in the studios. We didn't see you last week, did we?
I wasn't around.
Oh, you were here?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
then I wasn't here.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how come. I hope you're well this morning. You're good? Kwabena?
Why are you laughing?
I'm very well. Pablo.
Why are you looking at Pablo like that? Judge Addo is a lawyer and also the national youth organizer for the NDC. Good morning.
Morning.
Everything
Bella.
okay?
God do you own. He left say MPP go fix the country.
Are they not fixing it already?
Bella.
They are not?
That's mess.
Which mess again?
Every day we are in a different mess.
Well, we'll see if they can speak to that. But let's take a look at our first story for today. And of course, we're talking Aisha Huang. We started in the intro. Her trial begins today, Wednesday, September 14. And it will be one that is monitored, scrutinized, and judged in the court of public opinion. Now, Aisha Huang, she's a Chinese national at the heart of the most talked about Galamsey saga that held the country spellbound. But why is it so difficult to prosecute her? And how important is it that she even warrants a presidential comment on this matter? There's more in this report.
The president says she has become the nickname for all that Galamsey represents. A respected security expert, Professor Kwesi accuses her of being a mole sent to destroy the Ghanaian cocoa sector. The name Aisha Huang is dominating Ghanaian news circles, as she did many years ago when her arrest and what we were told was deportation became a political hot potato. Now, President Akufo is not even sure if she was deported at all. On a tour of the Volta region, the president told Stone City FM he is not even sure the Chinese was deported in the first place.
When you have a situation like this woman who was, I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time and has now come back, but whatever. There still seems to be some uncertainty about it. But whichever way it is, she has become the sort of nickname for all that the Galamsey represents. And unfortunately, also for the involvement of Chinese nationals in Ghana in this particular illicit trade.
The backlash has been swift, but Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah claims effectively that the president has been misquoted and claimed the reason for the president's comment is that there is a difference between deportation and repatriation. Deportation or not, President Akufo believes there is enough on the part of the judiciary to make Galamsey heavily unattractive.
Until recently, till I came, the punishment for people caught was relatively light, a fine, and even if we're going to go to custodial sentences was relatively minimal. We've changed the law to stiffen the punishments for people caught. For foreigners, I think it's now 15 to 25 years, depending on the severity of what it is. So we're also now going to test our judicial system, to what extent it is going to be responsive, especially when somebody like her goes on to trial.
Strangely, in a country where the police service is quick to release images and statements on suspect, and the upper personnel leak images of even internal memos, the 36-year-old Huang has remained a mystery, with her last recorded image making the rounds in the media dating back to 4 years in 2018. There is a sense that the return of Huang to Ghana speaks of a blatant disregard for the laws of the country and highlights Ghana's general struggles to contain the menace of Galamsey. With Huang and her compatriot due to appear in court tomorrow, there will be many Ghanaians hoping that the court will seize the opportunity to send the clearest message that the country is serious about the fight against Galamsey. Noble Crosby-Annan, TV3 News, Accra.
Interesting that the president is making this comment at this time, because back on the 20th of September 2019 at the Princeton University in the USA, he actually commented on this matter, and this is exactly what he said about the then deportation of Aisha Huang.
I think the decision that was made to deport the Aisha woman, on hindsight, was a mistake. And that is why that process, that procedure has been stopped.
On hindsight, deporting Aisha Huang was a mistake. How is it then that he's saying now that he's not sure if she was actually deported or she fled the country? Nikwate, is it not interesting, the statement that the president has made at this point, knowing fully well that he is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces? Everything security comes to his table every morning, or at least every day. And yet, at this critical juncture, he says he's not sure if this person of interest was even deported or actually fled the country. What do you say?
Bella, thank you so much. And good morning to your good self. And my two brothers, Kabila and stubborn Pablo. Pablo.
Stubborn Pablo. What makes him stubborn?
He threw the first punch when you were trying to ask him some few intros.
It's a former chief executive.
And this is my brother, he's stubborn.
Stubborn Academy.
He's in opposition, but see how he's fat.
Oh, no,
See
he's
how
not.
going
He's just,
tall.
he looks very well.
But he looks good. He's a good friend. He's been a while. And what I can say is that this communication is a bit unfortunate. I don't know how the full brief was given to His Excellency the President. But the bottom line is that I was just going through my Joe Online portal. Aisha was indeed deported through the immigration service. They issued a notice of revocation of a permit. That was on the 19th of December. Then she went through Kotoka with Ethiopian Airlines. Her flight number was ET920, and the seat number was 32F from Accra to Addis, then all the way to her country in China. So indeed, she was repatriated from the country. But this Aisha issue and Galamsey, seriously, I want us to look at the total impact and effects of this Galamsey crisis in the country. Because His Excellency the President put his job on the line. And to quote him, is that if that is going to cost him in the elections, he's ever ready to look at the fight against Galamsey. And you look at the energy, the resources that has been deployed in the fight against Galamsey. Look at your cameras. I have gone through this country 2 occasions during my campaign. And sometimes when I drive through Dankobra, I drive through the Pra, the Birim, and I see the extent of devastation of these water bodies. I cry. The attitude of our own people is a mess. The Chinese man who travels all the way from his country gets to Kotoka. He doesn't know where our mining sites are. They are held in the hands by our own Ghanaian people, taken to the places where they mine and do all these kinds of Galamsey. So government can put in efforts. Government can put in resources. We have the security people on the ground. If our own people are not committed towards the fight, we are finished. I recall when the Minister for Land and Forestry, as part of their engagements, they were moving around. At the KNUST hall, when the Ashanti King was seated, we all heard what he said. He said we should not pretend. At least when you look around, all the people around, there are some of his own chiefs, about 30%, who may be involved in the Galamsey fight. It means that the king himself is not happy of what some of his chiefs are doing. So the question is, how do we fight this holistically? It is a total commitment for everybody. So for me, I want to commend the president for his continuous fight because our people are so stubborn. And believe you me, the places where they are doing this Galamsey, there are no factories there. The only means of vocation there is farming. So what the Minister for Lands and Forestry is trying to do, recently they are able to get some machines where they will do the grinding of these stones and these sand to move them away from these water bodies. Deploy them. I mean, I don't know how much they sell these things to these small-scale farmers, these small-scale miners. So you move them away from these water bodies, use these machines, then extract what kind of gold that you want to get from the minerals. You know, so clearly there is that commitment to to fight Galamsey.
There is?
There's a serious
Even when the
commitment.
president is not sure, because we had one person that we know had desecrated our water bodies, our lands. We should have prosecuted this person. Now, we're not even sure if we should describe what happened to her as a deportation or repatriation, because what the information minister is saying is totally different. He says that in actual fact, we should look at it as a repatriation, because deportation only lies at the doorsteps of the Ministry of Interior. And when it comes to immigration, they can only repatriate. But even with what the information minister is saying, the president, who should have known about all this, says he's not sure what happened.
Bella,
So are we really bent on
I have
fighting
given
Galamsey
you
in this country?
the facts that this lady left this country through Ethiopia Airlines on the 19th of December.
How does the president
You
not know
understand?
this?
Well, I cannot sit here and tell. I cannot sit here and tell. But indeed, she left this country with Ethiopia Airline flight, ET 920, on the 19th of December. Her seat number was 32F to Addis, from Addis to her home country in China. Now, as to how she came into the country is another matter that we all need to find out how she entered. And it's a fact that our borders are porous. We can't hide this. I've told you, I've come round this country from Sabuba to Chindere to all over the places. And there are places where people, this is Togo, this is Burkina, and this is Ghana. And so the migration officers cannot be everywhere. But I'm not saying this, that because the borders are porous, our migration officers are not working. Indeed, they are trying their best. But she was aided, I'm sure, by people in this country into whatever she
The
wants to do.
allegations that she was aided by top officials.
They should name them. Those who know those top officials, they should bring their names up. I will not condone these things because I see the devastation of these water bodies. And Ghana Water Company, my dear sister, they are struggling. And they will purify these waters. And they get source of these water that they get for all these domestic homes come from these rivers. So if we continue to pollute these waters, the amount of money they spend in buying chemicals to treat this water for us, you will see the extent of the destruction. So for me, I still have the conviction and I believe now that she's in the full grips of the law. We were here last week and the AG has called for the docket. Look at the right charges to prefer against her. And we are still following keenly, together with the media. You have been a support of this fight against Galamsey, and we'll take it away from you at all. Let us continue to push hard. Let us continue to support government to fight this Galamsey menace. It is a support for everybody.
How do we continue to push hard when the security clearly looks like it's being mocked at this point with a statement that has been made? In fact, we've gotten different statements from the NIA as to how she even got the Ghana card. We've heard from the minister of the Ashanti region also telling us when she got into the country, when she was arrested and picked up. Now we're hearing from the president, we're hearing from information minister. It's all very confusing at this point. How do we even trust that this government is going to see to it that she's actually prosecuted?
My dear,
If we should go by statements made by government officials and the president.
my dear, last week I did indicate that when she got to Tamale to process her NIA card, the processing officer at the time should have been the first person to press the trigger. That look, this is the woman who was giving us problems. Whether he was experienced or inexperienced, I cannot tell. Because you should be able to trigger her name, the document. You don't have Aisha on her name. Is N1. That is what is on the name. And that is what they have on their data system. Unfortunately, he missed that. And she managed to get the card. That is a problem. That is a big challenge to the NIA themselves. That the work that they are doing, they need to be very meticulous in the discharge of their duties. But as to the communication flowing up and down, that is most unfortunate. But I can assure you, the AG is in full charge of this very case. Today she's going to court and we're going to see what is going to come out of it. And I'm sure, definitely, look at the charge. She's going to get 2 charges. Apart from the infringement of the Minerals Act, how she even entered the country illegally is another.
So there'll be 2 new charges added to
Of
her
course, I'm not a
charges.
lawyer.
Sure
He's a
about
lawyer
that?
here. I can tell you, how did you enter? Because the fact that you have been deported, you are not supposed to come to the country.
Okay, so you're not saying this based on what you know from, activities
the-
that will play out today. You
but-
are assuming that
But
there
as
should
a
be 2 more
layman,
charges.
yeah, as a lame
Okay.
person, this is what
But
I
hasn't the
suspect.
president lost control of security in the country?
Not
with
at
this?
all, not at all.
He
Not at all.
hasn't?
Not at all.
You don't think so?
Not at all, my dear. Not at all.
Kabila,
Not at all.
let me bring you in. Has the president lost control? Because if you're in charge of security, the briefings come to you every day, and you actually sit on radio and say that you're not sure what was done to this particular person. Does it clearly show that you're not in charge of happenings around you?
It's very simplistic to conclude that the president has lost charge of security merely because of his answer to a question.
Okay.
He didn't volunteer that from the media reportage, I want to understand that it was a question that was put to him. And in addressing that, he spoke. And I want to believe he spoke as a lawyer who wasn't sure. And as for the deficit of him being the commander-in-chief and the president of the republic, entitled to daily briefing on such matters and not being equipped, is a deficit that we can all talk about. Okay. However, let's look at interrogate the answer he gave. And let's grant him that he was being sincere, that he wasn't sure whether the lady left the shores of our country as a deported person or someone who was just made to go away. The distinction is critical. If she was deported, what it means is that really she would have been handed over to the security agencies in her own country. She wouldn't have gone on her evolution. But if it was an arrangement other than deportation, which I am inclined to believe, because you will recall that there was an intervention when she was arrested by Mr. Osafo Mafu, which negotiated her way out of being prosecuted to be sent away. So really she didn't appear before any court, and I don't recall that there is a fact or established that the Ministry of Interior or the agencies of state, for that matter, in charge of deportation, handed her a deportation certificate. But be that as it may, I think that sharing in your concern, it's worrying that the president is unsure the condition under which the lady left at this stage. It's worrying for everybody who is concerned as a Ghanaian. But proceeding from there, Bella, we don't have to simplify or oversimplify these illegal mining activities as tied to one individual. And in this case, this person, Aisha. She may be representing an institution. And I say it could be an illegal institution, a cartel, or a network. Okay, people who are in that kind of perverse integration. She's not alone. And there are many activities that are going on in the illegal mining area aside her. There are even big mining companies whose activities fall under the bracket of illegal mining when they are going contrary to their own laid down procedure, their own contractual terms, going beyond their concessions or allowing methods other than what has been proven or approved for them. It all comes under that capture of illegal mining. So for me, a study in this area will show you that we are being too sensational and not tactical.
Why do you say that? Too sensational about what? Aisha Huang only? Or about the whole Galamsey issue?
Aisha Huang is
we're being too sensational?
Yeah.
How
when
so?
you oversimplify Galamsey to her.
Is that what we're doing? Or Ghanaians are expecting that a strong signal should have been sent to especially the foreigners who are mining illegally in the country if we had prosecuted her? Because we have Ghanaians who are picked up and are jailed. And yet these Chinese miners are picked up and we're told that they are actually sent out of the country instead of being prosecuted for the same offenses that Ghanaians are committing.
I think that
is that fair?
I have made the comment here that the fact that our president gave the kind of response that he gave, considering his position and privilege of information available to him, is a deficit, it's a problem. I've made that point. I'm making the point also that the issue of illegal mining cannot be limited to one individual It's a big network. Look, this is a book that was compiled in 2010 by a civil society organization called Wakam. The cost of gold. The problem with gold mining and, if you like, illegal mining is a huge one. And I'm saying that sensationalism will not cure the mischief or the wrongs in there. We need to be very meticulous. We need to be dispassionate about it and dig into it, because the network is huge and it brings to fore the issue about the nature of gold itself and our national constitution. If you read Article 157, with your kind permission, I will just read it. It found expression in the Minerals and Mining Law 2006 Act 703. Bella, this is what our law says, so that once you find a mineral anywhere, it is held. It is deemed. It is deemed to. Okay, I found it.
While you're finding it, let's. I'm giving you time to find. Have you found it?
Yes.
Okay.
Article 257, Clause 6. Every mineral in its natural state, under or upon any land in Ghana, rivers, streams, watercourses throughout Ghana, the exclusive economic zone, and any area covered by the territorial sea or continental shelf is a property of the Republic of Ghana and shall be vested in the president on behalf of and in trust for the people of Ghana. Based on this provision in our national constitution, if gold or any mineral, we are discussing gold, is found here within the premises of TV3, the state allows, or our laws allow the state to forcibly acquire it compulsorily.
Okay.
All the state has to do is to pay you compensation promptly and adequately. You, the person who owned this property, you are cut out. We know that land is owned by families and stools in our country.
And individuals.
And yet, we say that once a mineral is found there, your ownership of that land is ousted immediately. And the government or the state takes 100%. The compensation that will be paid will be based on maybe something that you had on that land and whatever. And the state, on record, has not proven that it pays these adequately and promptly. So there's an issue there.
Okay.
So, Bella, all I'm saying is this. When you isolate the issues bit and pieces to discuss it, you will never find closure. We need to revisit the whole conversation around our natural resource endowment, how we structure it. In my view, this law has to be amended. If it is vested in the state and you are going to share it, let's say the 100% that the state takes and pays royalties, and the royalties don't even go, give the people a share in that 100. Say, give them, if the family or individual or stool, you give them 10 or 15. Let the local government or local authority take about 25. That comes to 40. Let the state take the 60.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it is also established that when the exploitation of the gold, there's environmental damage, there's destruction of water bodies, pollution of air, which causes cancer and destroys the future, what do you call it? Women, their
fertility?
Fertility, yes.
Okay.
There's research to show that. It is the local people or the people living around that area who suffer it more. And yet, they are denied everything. Why?
How does this stop Galamsey? Because I'm trying to understand and
My point is this:
connect
if
this to
you
the issue of
connect,
Aisha Huang. I've been trying to listen to you to see if you connect it to it.
There are triggers to this whole Galamsey thing. One of them is the nature of gold that has not been properly appreciated.
Okay.
Two is the poor regulation, the poor legal system or the legal regime. Three are issues of enforcement. And I'm saying that this Galamsey may even be a fallout of the deficits in legal mining that are unchecked.
But
So
if
we need
that's
to have
the case,
a whole conversation I'm saying that don't look beyond it. Don't look at it on the surface of it. And this is a conversation.
Well, that's a conversation for another day. But today, let's deal with the matter
position
at
some
hand.
of us have held over a period of about 2 decades.
Understood. Let's deal with the matter at hand at the moment, which is the issue of Aisha Huang.
I think
Because
I've said-
whether we
I've-
like it or not,
I've expressed
no,
my
but you're
views on
saying
that.
that we should look at it broadly and not over sensationalize the issue.
I didn't just say
Aisha Huang.
I preceded.
And I get you.
I know, I dealt with the issue of Aisha Huang. We didn't have to get here. I talked about the deficit in the answer the president gave.
But even if we need to change
No,
the
no,
law
did
at
you
this
hear
point,
me say
I get
that?
what you mean. But even if we have to change the law, at the moment, what the law says is that if you find minerals on any land or river body, it belongs to the state. So that means that the president and government are the ones who are supposed to protect all these minerals. And yet, when foreigners come in and they come and take our minerals, we don't prosecute them illegally. When I say take our minerals, I'm talking about illegally taking our minerals away. We don't prosecute them. We deport them, and then we come back with all sorts of stories about whether we should have deported them, whether they should have been prosecuted. That is the matter at hand now. Have we failed as a country and as a government
that's why I'm saying that when you say
in
that,
ensuring that these people are also made to face the law, just like regular Ghanaians who are picked up on these mining sites, who are said to be engaging in illegal mining, and are yet sent to prison, and some of them are there for years?
Bella, I hope that you listen to me. I'm saying that this statement amounts to sensationalism because the fact is that today, as we speak, there are foreigners who are in our jail.
How many of
Who
them?
are I don't know.
For
I don't know the
illegal
numbers.
mining?
Yes.
Well, there was a report
when
that
you
was
say
put
that,
out.
when you
Hold
say-
on,
hold on,
by the Fourth Estate.
Can I finish?
Hold on. There was a report that was put out by the Fourth Estate where they're saying that out of the thousands of Chinese people who were arrested for engaging in illegal mining, when they got details from the prisons, it was only 2 of them who were actually in jail. The rest of them had been deported.
So at least the data you are speaking to that I'm not privy to is pointing to the fact that 2 foreigners
Out of the
Chinese,
thousands? Is that enough?
I didn't say it's enough. I talked about deficit here, didn't I? Bella, what I'm trying to say is this: there are foreigners who are serving jail terms here. So if you make the statement that you are conclusive that foreigners come and they are left to go, we only jail our own and don't deal with foreigners, that is not a fair comment to make.
How is it not when I've given you a report based on investigations that have been done by the Fourth Estate?
And I'm saying that even that report concedes that some foreigners are in jail.
2 Chinese
Is that a fact?
out of thousands?
Is that a fact?
Is that enough?
No, but is that a fact? I haven't even seen the data that they are
Okay.
speaking to. And that's why I'm not even contesting that.
Okay.
But the point I'm making is this. If you dwell on one particular issue too much, when there's a bigger pie in this conversation, you lose it.
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Let me bring Pablo in to respond to this. Do you agree with what Kabila has said?
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, he says that we shouldn't over sensationalize the issue of Aisha Huang at this
I
point.
don't know where the sensations are coming from and why this is sensational. I can understand my brother Kabila's job and what he has to do and how he speaks. So I'm not going to find any. I have no challenges whatsoever with him. But you see, the issues are that the competences of our president has been called into question. Is Nana Addo Akufo competent enough to lead us as our number 1 gentleman? No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Because of what?
And I'll tell you why. This is not the first time he's admitting publicly that he's not aware of a situation. You see, deportations just do not happen. If you take the Immigration Act, Act 573, before one is deported, it is either through a court order or by an order, a deportation order by the Minister of State. Section 35 of the Act tells you how a court order is obtained, how you have to take the person through a court process. I have been head of dissect before when I was chief executive. Everything that happens in my district, every Monday morning, my BNI officer, my police commander comes to brief me. It is the same structure all the way to the national security level. Every Monday morning, as President of the Republic, you get your security briefings. We cannot push the Aisha issue to the back burner because the Aisha issue was the subject of a public discussion at the Princeton University, where the president admitted that on hindsight he felt that it was wrong to have even deported the lady. So is the president telling us that he did not say deportation order? Is the president telling us that the courts did not issue? Because the facts that Titus was speaking to, if she left on flight number so and so, if I travel today on any flight, you can get that information. Once you get the manifest, you can get that information. But what I was expecting Titus to tell us, because he's from government, and he's the former Deputy Minister of Transport, from what I expected from him, that this minister or the Minister for Interior or the Director of Immigration, because where director means he's the director who takes care of immigration issues, issued a deportation order on this day. And that order should have found its way to the presidency. Because if Galamsey has become a menace, and then we are all confronted with it every day, and it's become an issue that has been discussed time without number, then the president has no excuse sitting in a radio, sitting before a presenter and admitting publicly that he's not too sure.
Was he not being honest?
How honest was he? Because this is the same man who sat in Princeton in New Jersey and told us that Aisha was deported. How do you marry the two? How do you even understand and appreciate the issues that he's telling us? In one breath, he's telling us that the lady was deported. Now the lady finds her way back into Ghana. And then now this same man is telling us that, well, I'm not too sure she was deported. Clearly, Akufo is not on top of his job. And this is not the first time. When our Mary Innovation contract made its way to Parliament, until the minority spotted the inaccuracies, when his secretary had signed by his own approval, when it was put to him that they were stealing from the people of Ghana, what did he tell us? That I am not aware. There's been many instances where the president has told us decisions that has come from his office. Immediately he's called into question and there are issues with it. The first response that comes from him is that I am not aware.
Would you rather he says he's aware of something that he's not aware of?
No, but if you are president of the republic and then your signature is on a document and you tell me you are not aware, then your competencies are called into question. And that is why I'm calling the competencies of the president into question. Because you have a duty towards the citizens of this country. And we've put you there, not because we want you to go and have fun. We've put you there to work. So documents that you're supposed to review, is either he's sleeping on the job or he doesn't understand why he's president. If the head of our national security, the commander-in-chief of our armed forces, is telling us that a notorious Galamsey who has been arrested in this country, whose name made the news everywhere, to the extent that even in an international community, international engagement, her name came up. Only for her to find her way back and you're telling us that you're not aware. And we should be clapping for him being honest. That is a mark of incompetence on the part of His Excellency.
How do you think this affects her trial moving on? Because today she's expected in court.
As a lawyer, sometimes when it comes to issues of our courts, I tread cautious.
Okay.
But the truth is that I have no confidence in the processes. You know why? Because we are being told that the circumstances under which Aisha was arrested, it was not a state that went to arrest her. It was individuals who she was fighting over businesses who had to go and report her. There is also evidence to the fact that people within our security apparatus are well aware that Aisha was in this country. For instance, the NIA, they take your fingerprints and your database, right? If you deport somebody, once you are arrested, is your database, are your fingerprints not taken? Before you deport any national, your fingerprints are taken. Your picture is taken. The NIA spent millions of dollars on the software that seeks to identify double registration. So how come the NIA is telling us that Aisha was not in their system or in their database? How come the NIA did not flag her when she went back for her Ghana card?
But that also boils down to how long her deportation was for, because we know that it could be 6 months, it could be a year. Really depends on what the government agrees on. We are not privy to that information yet. So could it be that at the time she came in...
And you see, if Akufo Addo is telling us that he's not aware that Aisha was deported, that's why I said that is a mark of incompetence. Because you see, it is very simple. Call your director of immigration. It's either she went to court, because there are only 2 grounds for deportation. Bella here cannot just get up and say that I'm deporting Kabila out of Ghana. You can't. Titus cannot do same. I am not close with that authority. There are only two organizations that are close with that authority. One is the courts of this country. Even when the courts gives that order, you are handed over to an immigration officer who will see to it that you're escorted onto the flight until the flight leaves this country. And when you leave, you're handed over to the country where you are being deported to. That is how deportations happen. So through the courts or through a deportation order, what we expect this government to tell us is to show us an order from the courts or a deportation order. And that is where Safo Mafu's statement comes in. Was Aisha truly deported? What were the arrangements? Because Safo Mafu admits that deporting Aisha or prosecuting Aisha in this country would have meant nothing, depending on, because that was the same time that we were negotiating with China.
Sino-Hydro deal, yeah.
On the Sino-Hydro deal. So was she part of the negotiations? These are questions they must tell us. If she was part, the president must know about it because he led in that negotiations. The documents came on his table. Was it part of a certain deal? What do the Chinese know that we don't know? What do they know the presidency that we don't know? Because for her to come back into the country, and I can bet that the routes they are telling us that Aisha came in through, I have my doubts. Until they are able to prove to us and tell us. Because now, like you sit here, and I can see from all that you are saying that you have no confidence in the kind of information they feed to you and I.
Not necessarily. It's just a matter of confusion. We're all trying to get to the bottom of this. But should we be dwelling on the issue of deportation or repatriation? Because if you look at what Kojo Kuma is also saying, he says that the immigration is only clothed with the power to repatriate you and not deport you necessarily. Even though,
you should go and read 5.
even though the law says differently. But at this point, should we be concerned about that as well, whether she was repatriated or she was deported? Because we understand that if you're repatriated, your home country is not supposed to be alerted on that. Is that true?
If you are even repatriated, there are processes that you go through.
What are the processes? Let's understand.
There are documents to repatriation. I cannot just speak as I'm repatriating you. So if Kwejo is telling us that Aisha was repatriated, granted, give us the documents that suggest she was repatriated. And when you are repatriated, there are conditions under which you can return back to the country. Were those conditions lifted? Kwejo is now even muddying the waters the more for the NPP and the government.
How so?
Because of the issue of repatriation. Because the issues of repatriations are such that if I decide to repatriate you, I cannot on my own, Judge Opariado, get up and say I'm repatriating Titus. It has to come through the Minister of Interior. An order, and you see, repatriation is just like the order. The deportation is what the courts will take you through, but the repatriation is just an order where the minister signs and then conditions are set for you. And when even when you are being given the chance to come back, a court will have to lift that repatriation order, or you must go through certain processes.
Okay.
So Kwejo should give us documents to prove that this is what happened. But you see, where my brother Kabila took the discussions to, it leaves much to be desired. And ask me why. Because you see, we are talking about an issue that we need to nip in the bud until we punish wrongdoers. Early this year, late last year, 24th May 2021, national security operatives who were part of the Ayawaso West Wugon gang were arrested in the Chua forest. They made appearances in court in Koforidua on the 8th of June. In open court, and we saw the videos, that they are national security operatives, they were sent there by people in government to go and mine. They have been used, they've been done. The docket got to the Attorney General's department and up to date, they've not made any appearances in court again since 2021.
Have you followed up on it?
And I'm telling you, we followed up. That is why I'm putting out the information.
What is the reason for why they have not gone back to court?
You know when they give you bail and the docket is the Attorney General, all they keep telling you that docket and buy. The docket has gone and has not come back. When the police were prosecuting, they were making appearances in court. When the people started talking in court, and they started threatening, because when they were first remanded and they started talking, the Attorney General came for the document. Up to date, they've not made any appearance in court since 2021. We are talking about mining from where Kabila took it from. We all know in this country that most of our forest reserves, there are people in there mining. And Titus is telling us that he traveled around this country. We all do. The faces we see leading this Galamsey are known members of the NPP. Leading figures.
Non-members of the NPP.
Leading figures in the NPP.
Not the NDC, not any other.
Yeah,
how do you say that for a fact? You are saying that there's no NDC person that is involved in Galamsey?
Certainly you may find, but there is no leading member of the NDC currently who is involved.
So in the past they were involved.
I don't know anybody who was involved. You definitely have people who may have, we may have sympathizers to the NDC who may be mining. But those who are leading this Galamsey fight, those who are in the forest, mining in the forest reserves, 80 to 90% of them are leading members
Based
of their
on what
party.
facts? If you
Oh,
say
but we
80
know
to
them.
90%. I mean, you
Bella, we
need to
know
speak
them.
with facts.
Bella,
because you can't just conjecture at this point and say 80 to 90%. There are concerns that there are even people within the NDC who may also be involved.
In 2020, the National Communications Team of the NDC visited water bodies and held press conferences, named and shamed leading figures of the NPP who are associated with Galamsey. When the Kwewusi tape came, did we not hear the audios on the tape where John Boydu and Co were negotiating that you can go and mind it, you can go and do this here, and that party here, Sika? What are we talking about? The president has not shown commitment to Galamsey, and I'll tell you why.
Did you show commitment when you were in
Of course,
power?
yes,
Because
President.
we
Of
heard
course,
from
yes.
former President
Of course,
John
yes.
Dramani
Of
Mahama.
course,
He says that
Of course,
under
yes.
his tenure, you deported about 5,000
Yes.
Chinese nationals.
Yes.
The question is, why did you not prosecute some of them?
You see,
To send a strong signal.
because we are a member of the Committee of Nations, there are rules. For instance, Ghana has an agreement with the US in terms of prosecuting of its nationals. That when a US national is arrested in this country, you must first report to them. And that is what the laws are. So sometimes there are diplomatic arrangements that are put in place. But if you persist, to the extent that early this year or late last year, the Chinese ambassador himself said that it has become one too many. So now we should prosecute their nationals. Until those arrangements are done, you cannot just get up and start prosecuting foreign nationals.
So is that the case with Aisha Huang then?
No,
Which is also
Aisha's
reported?
case is different. And I'll tell you why Aisha's case is different. If Aisha was deported, because when somebody is deported, there are deportation orders, there are rules, there are documents. Prove to us where the documents are. But based on a self-marful statement, clearly you can tell that Aisha's case was different.
So you're saying that those 5,000 Chinese nationals that you deported, it was because of what? The bilateral relationship we had with the country or some agreements? I need to understand.
I may not be privy to what arrangements went into those 5,000 that were deported. I may not be privy to it. But like I said, because of the organizations we all belong to, there are always rules when it comes to foreign nationals.
So that rule could have applied in this case?
No, in Aisha's case, I'm saying no because Osaf Mavo tells us a different story. The president is telling us a different story. And his minister for information is also telling us something different.
Okay.
So until they're able to tell us what exactly it is with Aisha, it means Aisha is a special case.
I see. Aisha is a special case.
Can I come in?
I'll let you come in. I'll let you
come
respond.
in.
But let's
You cannot
quickly
come in.
listen to Dr. Ishmael Norman. Yesterday, he was on Ghana Tonight, and he thinks that this is all a poker game. That statement that the president made yesterday is a poker game. He thinks that it is just a way to get the Chinese consulate to come into the matter and negotiate for her release to their country. Let's see if that's true. But this is what he has to say. Listen to it.
Point of view, what we just heard the president say earlier today and the explanation that the information minister sought to give.
Alfred, good evening, and good evening to Prof. It's nice to be on the same platform with you, Prof. Alfred, I think there is cognitive dissonance among the officials of this government when it comes to communication. On many occasions, they have told different versions of the same story. And with the Aisha Huang story, there have been at least 4 or 5 different versions of it, from Osafo Mafo, from Information Minister, immigration officials, and then the president. And there have been more because the spin doctors from the MPP communication camp have also done their share of, twisting the story. So people want consistency from their government, and we're not getting it. So that is very concerning because of the fact that the president is the commander-in-chief, where national security strategy, national defense strategy, so many other critical strategies they end on his table. So if he's not cognizant of important developments in this documentation that are used to coordinate preparedness of the country, then I think we need to worry. But Alfred, the president is known to be a man, with all due respect, to have the memory of an elephant, meaning he never forgets. And so I think this he's playing a game. And because I've asked myself many, many times, why this kind of revelation, which appeared to have surprised the information minister. I believe that this is a poker game that the president is playing. He's trying to force the hand of the Chinese consulate or the ambassador to the table to negotiate Aisha's situation, because it will be probably better going back to Osafo Mafo's position. The Ghana is in need of money. It will probably be better not to spend money to prosecute Aisha Huang, to negotiate it in such a way that Ghana can maximize its position. I don't believe that the president forgot it. I believe that this is a poker game. This is an intentional flip. Of course, we can say that when presidents or leaders speak extempo, they go off policy and strategy or talking points. But this president is also quite, I wouldn't use the word devious when it comes to getting things for Ghana. I will use the word crafty. Very, very crafty.
This president is crafty. This is an intentional flip. And it is a poker game that the president is playing.
But I think the statement made by the man is too harsh.
It's too harsh.
It's too harsh. And to attack the president in this manner was most unfortunate. This isn't a poker game.
It isn't.
He's conjecturing. Is he speaking the mind of the president? I totally disagree with him.
But this is a security consultant.
Excuse me. He's not. So what? So you talk anyhow?
Is that what he did?
That's what I'm saying.
He says that he's deducing
yes,
from the statement the president made.
And the president is playing to the hands of the Chinese embassy to come and negotiate. Excuse me. I totally disagree with him. Well, we know you didn't hear the Chinese ambassador recently that any Chinese national who goes contrary to the laws of the land must be dealt with. Where was this man? Where was he? And you have a whole national organizer, youth organizer, my own brother, Jojo Pariado. When you ask him the question, why didn't they prosecute the Chinese and the Repatriation? You saw how his speech, his voice lowered down drastically, like a plane, like the plane coming down.
It did?
Did you see?
How?
He was found wanting. He was caught in the web.
No,
Cool down. Pablo, cool down. You see, let us call a spade a spade. In your time under JDM, Aisha was arrested more than 3 times.
You have proof to that.
Please, you cool down.
Proof.
Aisha was arrested, Bella, more than 3 occasions. What did you do? You left her off the hook.
Speculation.
And she continued to destroy the environment and all that.
He says that's a speculation.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
it's a
proof.
fact.
So bring the proof.
It's a fact.
Bring the proof.
Aisha was arrested 3 times.
I'm not aware.
Kwaku Baku, you see one of these videos.
But then
My senior, my big brother, Kwaku
because that
Baku.
was when Kwaku Baku came out and talked about the
When
fact
he's
that
talking,
she had
I'm
some
quiet.
videos.
Bella, let me flow. Let me flow.
You let's
Let me
keep
flow.
our flow. Okay.
Let me flow. When you were
Please
talking, I
carry
was
on.
quiet.
Please carry
So
on.
please, be patient and allow me to flow. And let me repeat, and I'm saying, Nanado, His Excellency, is very competent. He's in charge. He knows what he's doing. And in your time, when Aisha was arrested more than 3 occasions, you never prosecuted her. You are lying. And she did all kinds of things. But for divine providence, if she has been rearrested, we admit that the NIA officer who was doing her processing and realized that Aisha's name is not the name that she used in the procurement of the first ID card. He used N1. That person should have really caused the arrest of Aisha. We admit there was some, should I call it, unprofessional handling of the process of a card in that arrangement. Now she has been found foul of the law. She's in the hands of the grips of the law. And you are saying that, look, you are a lawyer, so you cannot speak on it because you don't believe in the system. That was the word he used. You heard him. A lawyer. He doesn't believe in the system.
I gave you examples.
Please, calm down. You have been a DC chief executive before. You have been a DISEC security chief before. You've been giving briefs from what you told us and you share with your public. And I'm saying that Aisha's case, for what we have been told and what the Attorney General has told us, he has called for the docket to know the right charges to prefer against the lady. Now everybody's eye is on it. And there's no way any deportation order is going to continue like before.
Okay.
So clearly, I can beat my chest that the government and Akufo and the Attorney General will make sure today they are going to court. And we'll see what is gone out of it. But I want to assure us, my dear sister, the fight against Galamsey, if you want to know the person who has really led the charge, is Addo's government.
But
in what time you raise your hand in despair?
Pablo says that there are a lot of top officials within the NPT who are involved
my
at the
name
moment.
is Daniel Nikwate Titles Glover. Okunye Nabi Nyokobi. I don't deal in Galamsey.
Okunye Nabi Nyokobi. I see.
Those who are involved, they should deal with them. The security, they should be bold enough. Because the water that is being destroyed does not know political color.
Are they covering up?
Please, anybody involved in Galamsey and they do, they should arrest them and deal with them. Because Ghana Water is spending so much money to process this water for all of us. No political color. So Pablo will not sit under your camera and pretend as if in their time they were holier than thou. What are we talking about?
But we heard from the Santihene during that meeting when he said that out of all of us here, if we divide ourselves into three, we all know that 1/3 of us are involved, which means that we are very much aware of the people. Why have we not done anything about it up until this point?
In the beginning of my contribution, I did say that the fight that the president is leading, the charge, it is not his own fight. It involves everybody. Chiefs, chief executive, ministers of state, politicians, what they call the medium people. Everybody is involved in this fight. It is not Akufo's fight alone. It is not his fight alone. If we don't support him to fight this Galamsey menace, we'll be importing water across our borders. And you'll be surprised. I was told recently that Côte d'Ivoire, the western end, they've been complaining.
They are also complaining, yes.
They are complaining. It's not the fact that it is an Akufo's fight. It is all of us a fight. So if you raise your hand in despair, when my senior, Enusa Fuseni, was a minister for lands and forestry, we are not raising our hands in despair. We will lead a charge. And Akufo said, I'll put my job on the line. And he has not reneged.
Okay.
He has not reneged. So don't come and sit here and pretend as if you are holier than thou, as if in your time you did wonderful things. And the gentleman who spoke,
Dr. Ishmael Norman.
Dr. Ishmael, this is a poker game.
It is not.
It is not.
Okay.
And Akufo is competent enough to deal with this Galamsey menace. And let us all support him.
It's been 5 years.
It's not expected.
Please.
It's been 5 years.
The fight is not a one-day fight.
But 5 years, should we not have seen some
5 years
positive
is getting
results?
worse.
Madam, 5 years is not.
It's
At least
getting
let us
worse by the
appreciate
day.
the commitment in dealing with the fight against Galamsey.
Okay.
People have died in the fight against Galamsey. So let us not sit down and pretend as if it's an easy fight that we're all going to fight.
I
Please.
see. Is this a subterfuge?
You see, I'm disappointed in how we are even having this conversation.
Why are you disappointed?
You have just brought in the Asantehini's comment. Was he referring to Aisha Huang?
Does he have to refer to
No,
Aisha
no,
Huang?
I just want you to
No, but
understand.
it was based on a statement that
Hold it,
Nikwate
hold it.
made.
You see, a wrong analysis of any problem will lead to wrong conclusions. And that's what we seem to be doing with almost every problem in this country. And that is why over about 2 decades of my involvement in national life, we have consistently engaged in the same discussions. It's tiring.
Because we're not doing anything about it.
Exactly, because we are not confronting the issues holistically.
Who is
and
supposed to
frontally.
confront it?
We, as a people.
But who is in charge?
Hold on, Bella. You see, the president, at any point in time, is a leader of the nation. He's the head of the nation and must inspire all of us along. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
The crown, yeah.
However, that head is a representation of us. We reflect that head. And if we throw our hands in despair just because we have elected a leader, and the leader is not leading us in the direction that we want, we are blamable as well.
Okay.
That's why in my conversation, here is someone who's been trained to lay emphasis on the value of evidence. He sits here, unsure of what fact there is, goes on to make condition statements, and yet conclude and make conclusive statements, and turn round to to cast aspersions. Let's be fair with ourselves. My fight in this mining industry predates your government. I fought mining companies, big mining companies. This is a news article. I don't know why I brought it. Read the headline.
Don't allow Newmont to operate in Forest Reserve. Okay, when was
Who
this?
is this? This is 2010.
Okay, this is 2010. Okay.
Okay? The conversation we are having is not a simplistic one. Gold, its nature, mining, and I've made reference to the law, partly attributable to this. We sometimes blame chiefs. Meanwhile, no chief has any power in this country to grant a concession to anybody. If you take from the exploratory license, it's granted here by the Minerals Commission. The EPA grants the environmental permit. The mining lease is granted by the Minerals Commission, all of them. Now I've heard that they are working to diversify or decentralize the granting of these licenses. I've told you the Minerals and Mining Law Act 2006, Act 703, allows the state to compulsorily acquire entire land once deposits are found there. These are all issues that we need to negotiate or discuss. As we speak now, if you look at the share in gold terms, the big mining companies and even the smaller ones, the state alone, if you look at, you take the structure of revenue that comes from there, the state takes about 55%. The companies are able to manage with 45%. How these monies, corporate tax, free carried interest, royalty, mineral right fee, grant rent, permits, EPA, as a VAT, GRA, all this put together, why we as a state are not able to give meaning to the process that we get from mining is an issue when these companies are able to deal with 45. So it's a bigger conversation. And when we're having the Galamsey conferences, let me now address an issue. I raised an issue when my brother John Sami, they held the conference on Galamsey and isolated the big mining companies because the Chamber of Mines had gone there. I said they are a part. Because if you don't bring them in, sometimes abuses that are coming from those big mining companies lead to people engaging in illegal mining. And there's research to show that there are people who even engage in mining, not because they want money, but they just want to assert that they have a given right to those assets too. So it's a bigger conversation. And it's very simplistic to now sit here and take credit for something.
Take credit how?
Oh, but what was he seeking to do?
How was he taking credit? What was he taking credit for?
What was the meaning of the aspersion that Pablo was seeking to cast?
On you?
Yes. And I quietly sat here because I said I will have my right to reply him. Let me show you something. If there's anybody committed to fighting wrong and illegal mining in this country, Galamsey, private or small-scale miners or big mining companies, my name is there on the record.
Your commitment is more than the president?
Huge.
Is your commitment more than the president? I'm asking that
I'm not comparing to the president. I'm not comparing to the president. I'm talking about me as a person and what I've done over the years. So you see,
what has been the impact?
For example, in 2009 or Newmont got the worldwide, award for their, poor environmental adherence in their mining worldwide. It was based on some of their campaigns and at some point the demonstrations that we organized against them here in Accra.
And they got an award for it?
Yeah.
For poor adherence
in fact, they call it the something Golden Eye Award.
Okay.
It is derogatory.
It's a derogatory award?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was trying to understand
it's
why
a derogatory award that tells that your adherence to environmental practices and good governance and all these things is poor. My activities were part of it. Okay. I have also participated in giving communities, like in Salman, getting funding from some agencies to go and give them alternative livelihood programs.
Okay.
University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast.
Okay.
Takrady Technical University.
So you are talking about
educating students on natural resource governance, and accountability.
Okay, so we've seen your impact, but now let's talk about the president, because he said that he was going to put, or he was ready to put his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey. How is it then that the situation is even much worse now?
Well, you see, when you say it's worse now, I don't. This is the problem I have. What are you comparing to, and what are the figures,
Is it not
the indicators?
worse?
What are the indicators that you are speaking to say that they are worse? Because what we do also know
But
is that consistently,
the water company says that if this continues, we are going to have to import water. Is that not bad enough to understand that where we are at the moment is very dire?
You didn't use the word bad. You said it's worse off. That's what
I'm saying. Is it not worse off compared to previous situations?
I don't know what figures you are speaking to.
The Ghana Water Company did not speak then that we are going to have to import water. They have spoken now. Is that not enough to determine where we are at the moment in the fight against Galamsey? It's worrying
me that for about 2 decades, I'm engaging in this same conversation with you this morning. It's worrying me. It worries me.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the worry is not enough to be sensational about it. I want to look at the issue at the root cause. You have a duty, I have a duty. We should be happy that we are even having this conversation. And we have not let the president get away with the deficit in his answer. That one nobody heard. That I said is a problem, it's a deficit. The kind of answer the president gave.
We all heard it.
Good. So it's not as if I've come to sit here to say that all that has happened is good.
Okay.
But let us be dispassionate.
Okay.
The problem at hand is a big one. It connects. And I'm disappointed that Pablo is sitting here pretending that research hasn't shown that the problem with this Galamsey is along partisan or people with political influences. When we talk about the perverse integration in crime, it links courts, it links members of parliament, it links people, chiefs in the traditional society, it links religious leaders. It's a huge network.
Okay.
So don't be simplistic about it.
Okay. Point
It
noted.
won't help anybody.
Point noted. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Kabila, and of course, we'll continue the conversation. Keep watching. This is the big issue. Sorry, I meant Pablo. I keep interchanging your names this morning.
He's different.
But he's different, and you're also different. We'll be back. Keep watching. Welcome back. This is still the big issue on TV3Newday, and it's proudly brought to you by Nish Cocoa Drink and Nish Chocolate. I hope you've tried it this morning. At least you have intentions of trying it later in the day. It is very nutritious. Nish Taste of Ghana. Still in the studios, I have Daniel Nikwate Titus Glover. He is the former MP for Tema East. Kwabna Bonfet Jr. is the managing editor for the National Forum newspaper. And George Opariado Esquire, he is a member of the NDC and, of course, the National Youth Organizer for the NDC. You were coming in.
Yes.
At a point.
Bella, why are we here this morning? We are here on very simple issues. Whether Aisha Huang was deported or not. Where my brother Kabila seems to be taking the argument to, and the kind of arguments he's raised, we all admit that mining is a challenge in this country. But that is not why we are here this morning. We are here because our head of the nation, the one who you and I have elected to see to it that things are done properly, is telling us. If I didn't even vote for him, I can never vote for Akufo because I've never believed in his competences. I can never vote for him because I never believed in his competences. And you see, but the truth is that once he wins an election, whether you voted for him or not, he's the #1 gentleman today. So he's my president as well, whether I like it or yes. Even though I'm not happy and I don't like him as my president, he's the one that people have admitted to lead us. He has a responsibility towards you and I. And that is why we are here. And whether he's exercising that responsibility to the best of his ability. And that is why we are here. It is not about mining having issues and whether people are involved, whether you are fighting this or that. The question that we should all be asking is he exercising that responsibility he has? And the answer is no. For him to admit, and we can choose to play the ostrich and pretend that these are not serious issues. But these are serious issues for our national security. Because if the president is telling us, and he's admitting that the person he said in one breath that this person was deported and I felt it was wrong for her to have been deported, is today telling you and I that he's not sure whether the person was deported. The question that comes up is, what briefs do they give him? Is he on top of his job? Does he understand the role he's playing as president? And all other arguments are irrelevant. What is relevant is that how many more people have found their ways into this country? What other briefs has he been given? Are you and I safe? Because the one who has to protect you and I is not even sure whether his briefs he's getting are correct. We saw it in the PDS deal. When PDS became all messy, after you and I had lost over 2 billion in state revenue that was collected by private individuals, the president came out to tell us that he's not too sure about PDS and that he was misled. When Ameri became an issue, that his office had signed a letter taking it before Parliament. When the minority raised issues with Ameri and the issues came back, the president came back to admit that he was not aware of the issues. Meanwhile, he had signed a letter to Parliament. So what briefs is he getting? Why is he there as president? Does he understand his job as president of the Republic of Ghana? Are there any issues with his competences? These are critical questions we should be asking. But apart from that, for us to come and argue about the mining is a problem and this person is involved and I have fought this, it is neither here nor there. Let's come back home and let's address the issues. Who is in charge of our national security? Has our national security coordinator been up to the task? Is he getting the job done? Has he done the job well? And then we can narrow it down to this Aisha issue. Because there is one issue that comes up that leads you to subject other issues to interrogations. So now that Aisha has come up, because not too long ago we were being told about terror alerts all around us. What briefs are going to the president? Aisha is just a Galamsey, and she's so sophisticated that we cannot even track her down. We are not even sure she was deported. Then how about if terrorists and others start engaging in our country? Not too long ago, we were told that some people were crossing our borders and what have you. What is the state of those issues? Because the one who has been put in charge to take responsibility doesn't know what he's doing. Every day he's being misled. It's either he's sleeping on the job or he doesn't understand.
Are you not being too harsh? Because
How am I
again,
being
there's a
harsh?
school of thought that's saying that at least the president was being honest in this case. Maybe initially that was the briefing, but he got further briefing, realized that that is not the correct information out there, and so the onus lay on him to come out and tell the truth. You don't think that's it?
If you listen to the doctor who spoke about a poker game, it makes a lot of sense.
They don't think so.
Oh, but do you expect an appointee of the president to admit?
Is he an appointee?
He's not an appointee.
He's an immediate past appointee of the
But
president.
at the moment, he's not an
and a
appointee.
leading figure in the NPP. He just wanted to be national organizer and he failed. So clearly, he understands.
He didn't fail. It just didn't go his way.
But that is failure.
He might try again.
That is failure
How
now.
is that failure?
And when you go
It
and
just
lose,
didn't
you
go
failed.
his way.
Yeah, I'm going if I lose, I failed. It is like that. So you see, you don't expect Titus to admit it. But the truth is that it is more like a game of chess the president is playing. He has his back to the wall now. And you see, nobody pushed him to answer that question. If you follow the interview, he just didn't know what he was saying. He was just putting words together, bundling them together, and then out of the blue, the truth came out. Because you could follow, if you follow the discussions, he was not pushed to tell us how Aisha got into the country.
So you agree that it was a game of poker?
So
no more the fact that he's not in charge of security in the country anymore.
No. A game of poker because he doesn't know what he's doing. So you see now, where he sits, he doesn't know what briefs he's getting. And it's serious, because if the briefs you are getting from your screening agencies are not accurate and you are president, then you are in trouble. This is a clear case of the king being naked. Because you see, if in one breath they've told you that they've deported Kabila out of Ghana and you are president of the country, and then you go and sit in Princeton, and then you admit that, oh, Kabila was deported, but on hindsight, I thought it was a mistake. And then your senior advisor, your minister in charge of special duties, or Safumafu comes to tell us that, oh, holding Aisha in Ghana and prosecuting her would not have done us any good. We could have used that to negotiate for some money to come into the country. So,
but that's not what he said. He didn't say we could have used it to negotiate. He just said that at that time, the Sino-Hydro deal negotiation was taking place, and that prosecuting Aisha One at that point was
would
not
have
going to
stalled
change
the process.
The economy. No, he didn't say would have stalled the process.
So why did he bring
Sino-Hydro?
So why did he bring Sino-Hydro in then?
So you're saying that because
he's an elderly man, he can't. You see, when you are speaking in parables, you don't have to break it down for everybody to understand. Once you speak, people will do the connection. Why Sino-Hydro? Why Aisha? So she may have been part of the bargain. Take it or leave it. Because how do you put the two together? Somebody mining in our country, destroying our water bodies has been arrested. And instead of deporting her properly or prosecuting her, you tell us that because you are negotiating Sino-Hydro, so Sino-Hydro was going to fix the economy, so Aisha had to go. Where is the logic in this?
Okay, if you're saying that some top MPP officials, you're alleging that they are involved. The president says, I'm ready to put my presidency on the line to ensure that we fight Galamsey. Up until this point, we have not necessarily arrested and prosecuted some of these top officials. Where do you think you're going with this?
Excavators were
Can he
seized.
name names? Or he
Please,
just
I'm coming. I'm not. I'll give you names. Kabila, when you're talking, I'll say, just give me a break. Excavators were seized in this country. Excavators that were being used in destroying our water bodies. There was a young man in charge called Ekwewusi. What has become of Ekwewusi today? Where are the excavators? We had audio recordings. The minister then did not come and deny, Professor Frimpong Boateng, together with the General Secretary of the NPP then, with Ekwewusi seated in that meeting, negotiating how people will go into mining sites to go and mine because the new patriotic party needed money. What has become of that case today?
Was he not arrested at a point?
So what has become, what he was arrested and what next? Arresting is enough, that's all. Once you get arrested, the case dies. Is that what you're telling us? And you're asking me for names? The General Secretary of the NPP was sitting in a meeting, negotiating, telling us that the party needed money. What has become of the excavators? Do they fly? Do they have wings to fly? And you're telling me that you put your job on the line as president when your own people are selling excavators that have been seized, that could have been used in reclaiming lands that have been destroyed. You took no action, and you come and tell me that you put your job on the line. What job has he put on the line? And take it or leave it. Our water bodies are being destroyed every day. They are getting worse. You see, the issue of our water bodies getting worse, we can sit here and pretend like it is not. But I'm telling you that we have gone round. That was admitted. And off camera, he was even admitting that even our neighbors in Cote d'Ivoire have started complaining.
Oh, he said that on camera, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Our neighbors in Cote d'Ivoire have started complaining. You understand? So clearly, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What it simply tells you is that the situation is getting out of hand. Akufo has not shown commitment. What he does is to pay lip service. He only comes to talk. And that is it. Everybody knows him as a talkative. He talks more than he does the real job.
But that's not fair. We've seen Operation Vanguard. We've seen Operation
And what
Hall.
has become of
We've
Operation
seen
Vanguard?
attempts to fight Galamsey.
What has become
But that's
of
what
Operation
everybody's
Vanguard?
saying, that it is not only about the president. The regular Ghanaian should
But
also play
if
a
the
role.
leading
Are we
members
also
of
playing
his
our
party
role?
are selling excavators that the military agencies and the screening services seize from sites and bring, are being sold, or they bring them and then it's given back to people without recourse to our courts prosecuting them. How would they be motivated to go and work again and bring in more people? I'm telling you that people were arrested in the Etua forest. They were in court and were making noise. The audios were there, we all saw it, saying that they are national security operatives that were sent there to go and mine on the instructions of senior members of the party. Once those allegations were made in court, they were granted bail. The AG came for the docket. I gave you dates. Where are they now?
Anyway, Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah says that statement that was made by former President Mahama, that some 5,000 Chinese nationals were deported, that was actually wrong. It was only about 1,000 of them that were deported. The rest were either repatriated, some of them fled, some left on their own. And so that statement that was even made by the president is wrong in the first place.
So Kojo Nkrumah should be believed ahead of President Mahama. Are we serious as a country?
He shouldn't be?
He should bring proof. President Mahama has told you that this number of people were deported. Kojo says it's not true. Then you come and give us, because when people are deported, there are documents to it. President Mahama
didn't show documents.
He cannot give you the documents now. You know why? Because those documents will be either with the courts or with the Minister of Interior. Kojo is Minister of State, current Minister of State. The Minister of Interior reports to the President. Kojo should be able to bring the documents out and tell us that these were the people who were deported.
I see.
But for him to just come out, about when Akufo talked about deportation, he was talking about repatriation. Why would I believe somebody like Kojo Nkrumah?
So just because of that
the
statement,
level
we
of
should not believe him?
inconsistencies on the part of Kojo Nkrumah has been too many. The number of times he's come out to say things that are not true. Fact check Kojo Nkrumah on the web now, and you find out that he said a lot of things that when it was fact checked were not true. Why would I take his statement? Why would I believe what
So he
he's
cannot
saying?
fact check the former
And
president.
I'm saying that he should give us proof. He's the
There's
Minister of
history
Information.
to the fact that he was also
He's the
fact-checked.
Minister of Information.
But that is why,
It is
is
not
it
just
probably
speaking.
because he,
Give us
he
proof.
has some information,
And I'm
which is
saying
why
that.
he's saying
Give
that it
us-
was
you
only
see-
about 1,000 that were deported.
But were 1,000 deported?
Yeah, that's what he's saying, that the other 4,000, they were not deported. They were either repatriated, some of them left on their own.
But I'm coming. So
And
how many were repatriated?
So he's saying that about 4,000. Let me quote what he says. Technically, that is not true because deportations were just about 1,000. But yes, about 4,000 people left the Ghanaian jurisdiction. Many of them repatriated, some voluntarily, some also fled. So if you put all that together, it's 5,000. So you cannot say it is 5,000 deportations.
So let me explain. You see, Kwajo is a lawyer and he shouldn't do this to himself. Repatriation and deportation. There are two processes. Usually, like I said, because we are a committee of nations, when there are issues in respect to foreign nationals, there are processes you go through. Definitely a few will flee. That one you can never do anything about because once you are arrested, granted bail, when the bail conditions are not too, some of them will be arrested in remote areas. They will make appearances in court, they'll be granted bail. But even if out of the 5,000, he admits that some were repatriated. Repatriation is a process. Repatriation is also a process. Repatriation, deportation are processes you go through. So if President Mahama sits and the general term most people will use is deportation. So if you were repatriated, repatriation comes from the director. That one, it doesn't have to go through court. And then there are conditions, agreements. This is what you have to go through. Anytime you want to come back, you have to go through a certain process. There is nothing wrong with it. But they were asked to leave the country. You understand? So if President Mahama says that about 5,000 people were deported, then you say it is not factual. If more than 1,000 went through deportation, and deportation is done through the courts. So at least there was a process in place. He should come and tell us how many they've been able to deport under Akufo Addo, who says he's committed to the fight against Galamsey.
But under Operation Vanguard, were there not at least some thousand people that were arrested?
How many
we're
have
still
been
gathering
deported?
information on how many have been deported.
But he has proof that President Mahama deported more than 1,000, and maybe 2,000, 3,000 more went through repatriation, according to what he's put out.
Or some fled.
And I'm saying, because you see, under the conditions of bail, and if you're arrested in a rural area where the court systems and the bail, things may happen. But if more than 1,000 were deported, then we should be patting President Mahama on the back.
All right. Our time is almost up, but I'll take final words from all my guests. Nikwate, you seem very pensive.
I'm not. I'm really not.
Speak to the issues. Don't come and attack me. Speak to the issues.
You think that when you attack Akufo Addo, I should sit down and applaud you? Seriously, on our hands, we have this Galamsey menace. This is not a fight for President Akufo Addo alone. It's a holistic fight that involves everybody to come and deal with the matter. Media, you've been doing fantastically well. In fact, you've even led the charge to make sure that you're able to point some of these ills in our society. I will give you thumbs up for all that you're doing. Assemblies led by their chief executives, their security councils, churches, chiefs, everybody is involved. Because when you look at the extent of destruction of these water bodies and our vegetation, it is an issue that we cannot keep quiet on it. So I want to appeal that under Akufo Addo's government, and he has said, and I will repeat, that I'm putting my job as the president of this country on the line. He will need the support of everybody, including Pablo here sitting. The destruction of the environment does not have political colors. Let us forget that these are politics and deal with the problem of Galamsey.
Okay.
And let me repeat, anybody found wanting, destroying our water bodies, let's arrest them. And let us deal. Let us be courageous enough. Because when we do that, that will serve as a deterrent for other people to stay away. But the young Minister for Lands and Forestry, he needs to be commended with his team, making sure that these water bodies are being protected. Recently, there were these speedboats that were on the rivers. You saw them. Making sure we clear these people out of the way. They have given much. Why not? They alone.
But these people are not exactly along the river.
My dear sister.
I mean, the law says that you should be, 100 meters away from it.
Look,
but we know
we
that...
saw champagnes being fixed in the river. They have two pipes. One is drawing the water into where they are doing the Galamsey, and the one is bringing the water back into the river. The soldiers cannot be everywhere.
But if we
need intelligence, we need information.
You need to give a 100-meter buffer zone between where you're operating and the river bodies.
Sure.
We know that some of these mining companies, these illegal miners, they even have pipes that are longer than that 100 meters.
So that is why you need
Bella, they might be deeper
you need Pablo, you need Kabila and Nikwate. It is not Akufo Addo's fight alone. We need everybody to put our hands on the wheel to make sure we fight this Galamsey matter. And forget about these politics that we're doing as if we want to be more Islamic than the Imam.
Final words, please.
I want to say that His Excellency the President and his minister, our own brother Samuel Abujnapo, must take note that despite the wage of war on illegal mining activities, the menace is still watching us in the face. We need to do more. But we need to also appeal to us as a people, particularly those of us who get the opportunity to have public conversations on it. Sensationalism won't help anybody. 2, we need to be restricting ourselves to facts. An issue is yet to appear before court, and yet we are sitting here poo-pooing the matter.
Is that what we're doing? We're discussing something that the
George
president
just
said.
did that. He raised issues about confidence, trust. So you have a right to do that. But you are an officer of the court.
You finish. You said
Can I finish? Can I finish?
The
May I?
Okay.
May I? You see?
You want us to get into the judiciary?
Briefly, please. We don't have time.
Bella, at the end of the day, if we want to throw our hands in despair, let us individually do so. But not think that because we are disappointed, everybody else must throw their hands in despair. This is our nation. We'll fight and build it. It is not going to be left to NDC, MPP. Because Ghana is bigger than the two of you.
All right. I can only give you 10 seconds.
No problem. Akufo Addo has failed us, whether he likes it or yes.
There you go.
And the issues are still staring us in the face. The fight against Galamsey has just become lip service.
What can we do to fix it?
We should, like Kabila rightly said, we should all be committed. But the first commitment must come from government and this apparatchiks.
All right. No problem. Let's take a look at some messages that you have sent in this morning as you're watching us. The first one is coming from Walanyo in Akwitia. It says, Aisha Huang's so-called deportation is incomplete without Ya or Safumafo. Why are we not engaging Osafumafo, who came out boldly to defend Aisha Huang's deportation? He will be in a good position to answer questions than the president, who was just briefed by his security apparatus. Okay. Hi, Bella. His Excellency, the President, has lost the total control of the security as Commander-in-Chief. The President rather serves as a Commander-in-Chief of illegal mining. Oh, that's quite harsh. Ayariga Karim Bawumia from Upper East region. Okay. Ghana is not safe under President Sani Akufo Addo. How can you allow this Galamsey woman who has been deported to come in without the knowledge of our security agencies? Meanwhile, Ghanaian citizens have been shot because of the same Galamsey Abbas and Mogobo offenso. In connection with Aisha Huang's deportation, I'll say that the president is in charge, but certainly not committed to certain security fights. Issa Haku from Tamale. Okay. And according to President Akufo Addo, he does not know whether Aisha Huang was indeed deported. However, it took Kojo upon Kuma to do damage control. So who's giving the president's daily briefing on issues of national security? Anybody can talk about issues of national interest, but when former John Mahama speaks, the whole government's machinery is shaking. Musa Abattoir in Aswase. Okay. The mismanagement of the economy has landed us in this hardship. Okay, we have the men, not knowing Goro Boys economic management team. How do you say that? You can't say that for a fact, can you? The president himself is not performing. So how will he know his followers are not performing to reshuffle them? The president doubting the Galamsey Queen Aisha Huang's deportation is a case study. It's a case study of his incompetence on the job as president. Mustafa Loa Manya Krobo. Okay. Do we have more? I think that's it for this morning. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Good, man.
Thank you, Titus.
See you another time.
Nick Kwate, Titus Glover, former MP for Tema East, and also Kona Bonfe Jr. He is the editor-in-chief, of course, of the National.
We don't add the chief.
Oh, okay, managing editor.
Simple.
That's enough, eh? Yes. We hear you. Points noted. We have corrected it. And so he is, of course, Kwabena Bonfe Jr., probably known as Kabila. And finally, Pablo is here as well, of course, National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more. This segment was brought to you by Nish Chocolate and Nish Cocoa. Keep watching.